Fr Louis Hughes, welcome. You've come all the way from County Kerry, which some people believe is your natural county, your home county. But you're based there now, an Irish Dominican priest ministering in our priory of Tralee. Isn't that right?
That's correct. I was born in Dublin but grew up in Tralee to the age of 11. I was an altar server in the Dominican church there and have revisited that place and that priory many times over the years, and just it's a sense of having come home for the final stage of my life.
Oh my days, the final stage. Well, maybe that's actually quite relevant to the subject we'll be talking about today. So just to welcome you all to the Ars Populi podcast. My name is Father Chris Gault. I am here with Fr Louis Hughes, Irish Dominican, as we say, based in Tralee, very morbidly telling us that's the final stage. I wouldn't say that, Louis. You're looking fine. You're looking great. Well, we're talking today about Dante's Divine Comedy. Okay, and one of the things you have been telling me about the Divine Comedy from before is that Dante is dealing with these three great reference points throughout Christian faith. You know, is that something that we need to encounter ourselves today?
Absolutely. The world of Dante is a world of faith. You might say that just as Thomas Aquinas, who lived a generation or two before Dante, gave this summa theologiae, kind of a whole theological perspective of the whole of reality, the whole of creation. Yeah. Dante translates that into poetry. Okay. Nothing is left out of the Commedia. Yeah.
It's a funny name, Commedia. I mean, we would talk about today, I'm going to go see a comedy, or, we think immediately of having a great laugh. But you're telling me it's not a matter of laughing, or it's not a laughing matter at all?
It's no laughing matter. However, this is just simply the way the meaning of words evolves over centuries. And in the Middle Ages up to modern times, commedia means simply, a presentation,
Okay.
The Divina was added much later, after Dante's time.
Okay, so Dante is just writing in his own mind a kind of a presentation.
Is Commedia.
Yes. Commedia, okay. I've been told on good authority that you're reading the Divine Comedy every single night. But
another exaggeration.
But another thing that has been added on.
I have been dipping into that work since the 1960s.
Wow.
On and off, and gradually going deeper into it, so that now I must read it and research the background a bit to get the meaning, because it's inexhaustible, really. There's always more. There's just so much in it.
So tell me, what first grabbed you about the Divine Comedy, or how did you first encounter this, I suppose, seminal work, this classical work of Dante Alighieri?
Well, I was brought up to believe that it was probably the greatest poem ever written. In Western culture, Shakespeare and Dante would be the two after whom there isn't a third in terms of greatness of their writings and production. But whereas Shakespeare is widely spread over plays and poems, Dante wrote many other works besides the Commedia, and most of it in Latin, by the way. To write in Italian, in the vernacular language at that time in 1300, was kind of quite a breakthrough.
Brave.
Brave.
Yeah.
And his outstanding work above all the others.
But he did write in Italian, and in actual fact, he contributed greatly to the spread of Italian, or I suppose his own dialect, which was Tuscan, throughout the whole of the Italian peninsula, no?
Even today, there's such a variety of Italian dialects. Even one village has a different dialect to the next one. Yeah. And they're incomprehensible to each other sometimes. So what we had with Dante is he's writing in Tuscan, Florentine Tuscan. Yeah. And because the work is so successful, people are reading it, Tuscan is now spreading throughout Italy and even beyond Europe. So the Tuscan begins to dominate the other Italian dialects and becomes the official Italian.
The official Italian.
They would say, la lingua toscana con la bocca romana. Yeah. An elderly priest in Rome told me many years ago, the Tuscan language with the Roman mouth, but very that cultured, educated Roman speaker.
Having been living in Rome, I have to say that a lot of it sounds quite incomprehensible to me. No offense to the Romans.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure as a man from North Belfast, I sound quite incomprehensible to a lot of you people down here, as we say in Mexico. But Dante contributed to this spread of Italian, and one of the podcasts I was listening to as I was trying to learn Italian living in Rome, they were telling me that Dante is known by all Italian students. All the students who will go to school in Italy, they'll have these lines memorized of Dante. So it's pivotal for them. It's a great work that they hold up. Like they're really proud of it.
Well, we would have lines in we learned from school, lines from Shakespeare, Shakespeare's plays, speeches from Shakespeare's plays. So for them, the equivalent is Dante, and particularly the Commedia, and maybe also the La Vita Nuova.
La Vita Nuova, which is a work he wrote in Latin, is it?
No, that's also in Italian.
Also Italian.
And, the Italian of that time, and a series of poems with kind of connecting prose passages.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Today, will people know who Dante is? The people of Tralee, if you mention Dante to them, will they know who he is or what he wrote? Or will they know what the Divine Comedy is?
Well, if you say Dante, they will say Inferno.
Yeah.
the first of the three realms, really, in the Commedia. Hell, then purgatory, then heaven. And of course, because it's so graphic and it's so awful, it fascinates us.
Yeah.
So what you have there is the worst that you can possibly imagine. And it's very cleverly constructed by Dante.
Yeah.
Because as he looks at the different categories of sinners, there's what's called the contrapasso. That's to say, the particular sin, the punishment kind of is the opposite of the sin.
Wow.
Soothsayers, fortune tellers.
Yeah.
They're figured in hell as walking around with their heads turned back to front. So they're walking one direction, they're only able to see behind them. They can't see ahead of them.
Wow. Okay.
The contrapasso.
Yeah. A lot of tripping over and falling down in the...
Yeah.
What are some other examples of these weird and wonderful punishments that Dante
amasses? You have, of course, one of the most famous passages in fourth canto, Paola e Francesca. Paolo e Francesca. These young couple who fall in love and commit adultery. And now they're in hell.
Okay.
As having fallen into the sin of lust. And their punishment, they're being constantly blown away by this wind that whisks them around.
Yeah.
And they're locked together in this whirlwind all the time. The whirlwind of lust. So, what you desired at the time, now you've got too much of.
You've be careful what you wish for, maybe, or something along those lines. I remember hearing one time as well that those who fell into the sin of envy, there's something to do with their punishment is something to do with their eyes, that they're constantly looking at others, and that's kind of their assigned punishment is to constantly look around them, and never actually reflect on themselves.
Yeah.
Do people of Tralee know about Dante's Inferno because they're reading Dante's Inferno?
No.
So where are they coming up with this? Or it's in the popular imagination. It's in the popular, the ether, as they say. But should they know? So is Dante's Inferno relevant for us still today? Especially as Catholics.
Well, if you want to kind of study Christian truth, Catholic truth particularly, classical Catholic truth, and you don't want the heavy intellectual effort of working through the theology of Thomas Aquinas, instead read the Divine Comedy, even in translation.
Okay, interesting.
And you'll get the whole perspective, as Dante imagined it. Of course, when you talk about the Inferno or hell and the punishment none of that can be taken literally.
No.
That's just Dante's clever way of conjuring up almost how he would run it if he were God,
Yeah.
But he's not God. He wasn't God. And we don't know. But it does make you think. It does make you reflect. The shortness of human life, the absoluteness of the decisions that we take when we're living here, the importance of a human life, and where it can end up.
Yeah.
And of course, not to lose the focus, Paradiso, heaven, the final realm, the final 33 cantos.
So this is the final place that Dante ends up, is in Paradiso.
Yeah.
Okay. There are 100 of these cantos. is how you structure it. You say he structured it. There's one as an introduction.
Yeah.
And then each realm gets 33 cantos.
Correct.
Is there something symbolic in the number 33 by any chance?
Well, the Lord, the age of the Lord. When
number of years. Maybe. And so he starts off at the lowest, where we want to avoid ending up in hell. He passes through then Purgatorio, right? So purgatory. Is there anything really that's quite striking about these cantos in Purgatory?
Well, the difference between in Purgatory, there's a great sense of optimism.
Yeah.
People are chanting psalms of deliverance, when Israel was led forth out of Egypt, in exilo Israel de Egypto, domus Jaco de populo barbaro, as they're kind of ascending the mountain of purgatory, going again through different levels that they have to be sealed by an angel with each step.
Ah, okay.
And then they reach the peak of that, and then they jump into the sky, into the different circles of paradise.
Wow.
So you have this picture of the universe. You've got the earth. It's not a flat earth. It's the Ptolemaic universe, Dante's. So you have the surface of the earth. Hell is down below, a great big hole, which is created when Lucifer was thrown out of heaven and hit the earth at Jerusalem,
like a meteor.
And creates this great big hole, and he's stuck down there at the bottom of it, and that's the lowest circle of hell.
Does Dante visit Lucifer? Does he goes
yes,
into the very lowest depths?
Oh yeah, he's just slipped past the hair on Lucifer's body practically to get to the other side, and then climb up, and then he's down in the southern hemisphere, the antipodes of Jerusalem, and there he's in the water, and there he's at the foot of this mountain, which was created by all that earth that was pushed
displaced
by the fall of Lucifer, creates a mountain on the far side, and that is the Mount of Purgatory.
Ah, and so the souls of Purgatory are climbing the mountain.
They're climbing this mountain at different stages. Beneath that mountain, you've got these circles corresponding to the moon and the different planets, and they are then identified as representing different stages of heaven, going up through a series of concentric spheres.
Okay.
Until you reach the Empyrean, the absolute supreme heaven.
Very good. Just a quick question now about Lucifer. Sorry, do they interact with each other? Does he say anything to Satan or?
No. Well, Lucifer is chewing. He's got various Judas and. Really, the conjuring up, chewing with his three heads, chewing three different sinners.
Oh gosh! Wow.
One of whom is Judas, and then
Judas,
Brutus, and Cassius, the traitors who slew Caesar. Yeah.
Gosh, et tu, Brute.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why Dante would have consigned Brutus and Cassius in particular to the very lowest level of hell?
Dante had great respect for the Roman Imperium as representing order. And that the Roman eagle, then there's a lot of references to that in the Commedia, and therefore the church then builds on that. He was very much keeping church and state separate.
Sure.
And his criticism of many of the popes was they're interfering in politics, including like the bad pope, particularly Boniface VIII. Who reached a grisly end deep in Inferno.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. He donated a tabernacle to our Irish Dominican church in San Clemente in Rome.
But he instituted the holy year. The Black Guelphs of Florence, and they were the responsible who exiled Dante.
I see.
The White Guelphs, yeah. So he's a bad boy.
So a lot of this is really, it's Dante's personal experience, and his reflections on his experience have led to the...
Yeah, his personal experience of life and the people he interacts with and liked and didn't like, and then his imagination. So you have this marvelous thing of the bad popes, one bad pope who's kind of immersed upside down as a hole in the ground with his legs sticking up. And then when the next bad pope comes along, this guy is hammered down and the head of the next guy goes onto his heels and he's left then with his legs sticking up and so on, waiting for the next bad pope. So you have a kind of an inverted parody of apostolic succession.
All right.
In hell.
Interesting. That's very, very interesting. Dante is writing this all through his life, is he? Or how long did this commedia take him to, say, to get from start to finish, or to the time that he was ready to publish?
Well, the setting is set in the year 1300, when Dante was 35 years old.
The first holy year.
The first holy year, that's referred to as
all
well.
By this evil Pope Boniface VIII.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And but he really started writing about 1302 and finished in 3021, shortly before he died. Just got it completed before he died.
Just before. So really, a work that is spanning 2 decades.
Yeah.
Why did it take him so long?
Well,
a work of great literature
to get it done at that time
myself, so I
get it done at that time. You remember he would compose this kind of, as he was traveling through his exile, everything written by hand, and also he had to make a living.
Yeah,
and I do believe he would go into the public square in some of these towns and cities and begin to do a recitation of part of a canto.
Yeah.
And now the best entertainment by far was not found in Paradiso, but in Inferno.
Of course, yeah.
The devils and so on.
Yeah.
Very funny, even rude excerpts there,
It would be very popular. Yeah.
Yes, there's kind of where a devil sergeant major is marshalling a platoon of 10 devils to escort Dante and Virgil onto the next circle of hell.
Uh-huh.
And he calls his fellow devils to order by breaking wind.
Right.
And et elli aver del cool fatto trombetta.
Yeah.
And now, if I may cruelly translate that, and he made a trumpet out of his arse.
Right. That appears, though, that very symbol, having lived with Father Conor McDonough, you get used to these things, not from his own actions, but from the books that he studies, the medieval manuscripts. You often find these kind of characters, these little demons breaking wind and these kinds of things drawn in the margin very crudely, So it must have been a feature in the public mind at that stage. This is what the devils get up to.
Evil and punishment is much more fascinating than goodness and glory, isn't it?
Yeah. That's I don't know, is that a condition of our own fallen humanity? Why are we more obsessed, I suppose, with the bad things that can happen to us rather than where we're headed? Because as you said, Dante structured the commedia so that it ends at the goal. You get the bad stuff out of the way first, even though it might be more entertaining. But what you're actually looking for is paradise.
It's a pilgrimage, going to the worst part, and then the easier part, purgatory, and then Paradiso. But it does represent a kind of a totality of all of creation, of all of history.
Right.
And in that sense, it's a poetic reflection of, say, a summa of theology. Not just of St. Thomas, but the other summas that other theologians would have written too. And all human wisdom is there in poetic form.
Wow. And Dante is very formed in the tradition of St. Thomas. I mean, he doesn't come very long after St. Thomas has died.
No.
But St. Thomas's teachings are being kind of taught at Santa Maria in Florence, for instance. Yeah. He's kind of being
St. Thomas died in 1274 en route to the council, and Dante was 9-year-old at that time.
9 years, okay.
Growing up in Florence, but frequenter to the various churches, the Franciscans also, but also theology in Santa Maria Novella.
Okay. Is he preaching to his readers? St. Thomas is, like ourselves, of the order of preachers, and Dante having been formed in this tradition, is the commedia. I mean, you've said these are 3 great reference points in our spiritual life, and that's right: hell, purgatory, and heaven. Is Dante deliberately calling people to remember that fact?
Well, an artist presents a vision in artistic medium, language or paint or music, rather than preach in a direct kind of way.
Yeah.
But it can have the same effect. We are moved by a beautiful poem. It softens our heart, opens us up to the divine in some way. So in a very broad way, you could say, yes, he is preaching, he is communicating truth at a certain level.
Okay. So tell me now about the goal, where we are aiming for, which is paradiso, heaven, as Dante would have known it. What happens there on this? Are they being given a guided tour through all of these levels, or is it just purely in Dante's imagination? And how does he respond when he gets to paradise?
Well, he's been escorted by Virgil through Inferno.
Virgil, I see,
and through Paradise, through Purgatorio, and then towards the end of Purgatorio, Virgil disappears, and Dante is left kind of rudderless in a way.
Is that a sign Virgil hasn't made it all the way?
Virgil can't go into Virgil is trapped in limbo.
Because
limbo is really the first circle of hell.
See.
Where there isn't any punishment, but just that longing for eternal life, which cannot be had in limbo. But then Beatrice, this is a kind of a divinized form of his teenage love for this Florentine girl who died young. Of course, he's absolutely kind of built her up into this divine creature, this saint. So she guides him now through the different circles of Paradiso. And, on the way up through the different circles, you encounter different people who are in heaven at different levels, depending on how great their sanctity was. We comes across, for example, Saint Dominic and Saint Francis, and fairly far up the circles. But
as you would expect,
what you won't want to hear is, Saint Francis is 1 league above Saint Dominic.
He'll have to justify that to me as to how that actually managed to manifest.
I can't justify that to you. This is the poet speaking.
I'll have to wait until I eventually get to Paradiso myself, and I can ask Dante.
But don't take it for granted.
Yeah, indeed. Does he meet anyone else? We had some negative, some evil popes, I suppose, in the circles of hell. But does anybody else, apart from the great saints that we might know, does he encounter anyone that might give us, to spur us on to paradise?
Kind of the personal encounters. Again, the ones in Inferno are far more gripping than the ones you get kind of in Purgatorio and Paradiso.
Sure.
Like, for example, he encounters kind of a teacher of his who had taught him the classics in Florence, who is now in hell because he's a sodomist. The whole kind of special department for them.
Right.
And it's his whole universe there.
Yeah, his whole universe. He seems to have taken everything, from his formation, his life, his experiences with love, his own teachers, and just placed it into this whole context, a spiritual context, of this journey through hell and purgatory, and now in paradise, which is part of the reason why it's a classic. It's not totally dreamed up in his head. He drew on his own experiences, and people will be able to identify with it.
Well, you see, he's populated hell and purgatory and heaven with people who are known to his contemporaries, some of them.
Yeah.
He's popular with the ancient figures, like Ulysses is in hell because of his arrogance in wanting to go on a voyage to discover the end of the earth, and he goes over the edge.
Goes over the edge, yeah.
And then the people, so after his death, a number of the Dominicans, in fact, condemned the Commedia, certain aspects of the Commedia, a few of them for a while, because
St. Dominic was lower than St. Francis. So.
Well, I don't think it was particularly that, but the ideas, the theological ideas. But again, didn't they condemn St. Thomas as well?
They did initially, yeah.
That same
particularly the Bishop of Paris, yeah.
So it takes a while for the great figure's greatness to be recognized universally.
Yeah. And you have certainly recognized it in your own life, Father Louis. It's a work that you're going back to continuously and reflecting on. And of course, you would recommend that it's available, it's accessible to anybody, you would say. Maybe not in the original Italian, but certainly in English translation. Are there any you would recommend in particular? Or?
Well, you can get a very poetic version by Longfellow, the American poet Longfellow.
Okay.
Poetic, but you get more literal versions as well. also something you can get. You can buy parallel texts where you've got the Italian down one side and English down the other. If you want to have a go, if you have studied modern Italian, you can begin to have a go at the Italian of Dante,
Dante's Tuscan,
1300, because the evolution of Italian from Dante's day to the present time is less than the corresponding evolution of English. Yeah. For example, I can, with my knowledge of modern Italian, I can have a fair go at reading any text from Dante from the Commedia that you give me. Wow. Whereas if you give me kind of William Langland or Chaucer, who lived
much harder,
after Dante's time and wrote in English, I'm stumped.
Yeah. The old English, hard to.
The English language evolved so rapidly, it's still evolving very rapidly.
Yeah, with all this Gen Z speak that we're surrounded by now.
Yeah,
would you say Dante's Inferno is fire? This is how Gen Z say that things are good.
I don't understand Gen Z.
Neither do I, Father. Neither do I. Okay. But certainly you would recommend that we delve into Dante's Commedia for our own spiritual nourishment.
Yes.
Not taking it as literal or dogmatic in any kind of sense, but certainly we're able to draw our own reflections from it.
Absolutely.
For our own. It's been very interesting talking to you, Father Louis, about your experience and your love for Dante's Commedia. Thanks very much for being on the Ars Populi podcast, and hopefully we'll have you back at some stage.
My pleasure, Father Chris. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us on the podcast. And we hope to see you next time.